I feel like Wes Anderson and I just line up pretty well on senses of humor, because I found The Fantastic Mr. Fox to be an incredibly fun and hysterical movie, and I felt exactly the same way about the film I just saw, which was Isle of Dogs. If you haven't seen this film and it's still in a theater near you, I do highly recommend it. Spoilers will of course abound in this video. General premise is that in a futuristic Japan, there is a mayor who is anti-dog for maybe the only unexplored thing in the entirety of the movie, which is why is he so anti-dog? I don't know. But he's anti-dog because his family has been anti-dog for generations, and he ships all the dogs to Trash Island. One of these is the beloved pet of his ward, who flies a plane to Trash Island in order to find the dog, and the entire plot sort of evolves from there. Fantastic voice work, and it's all actual stop motion animation, which is really, really cool. I love stop motion animation, and I love watching the way that they create things. Like a dust cloud using cotton, things like that are just really, really impressive, and I've always enjoyed that, and I've always enjoyed stop animation as a medium in general. There are a lot of dark things that happen in this movie, like a lot of injuries, a fair amount of death, and torturing of animals. So fair warning for all of those sorts of things, but it's done in a very beautiful way, and clearly they care a lot about these creatures, and the general premise of the film, once it's finished, is that we should embrace these poor animals, and they are truly man's best friend. And I'm a cat person, so clearly, like, I can't be like, oh my gosh, but I would never be so against dogs that I would want them shipped to a separate island. And I would say that there are some very clear political overtones in the way that this film is done and in the way that everything is laid out. It's just very clever, and there are moments that should be sad and dark but make me laugh because, as I said, clearly Wes Anderson and I share a sense of humor. There's an entire interview portion where the mayor is talking to all of his different heads and saying things like, "You created the dog flu so that people would want to get rid of dogs. Congratulations! You created a robo-dog that will kill all of the dogs. Awesome work! You did this," and just like all of these terrible things. They're like, fantastic! And I laughed a lot. In fact, I found most of this movie to be pretty funny. And there's a good heartfelt story too between the boy and the dogs that he encounters. Fantastic voice acting by a lot of really, really amazing actors. And one thing that I really liked about this film is that the dogs' barks have been translated into English, but everybody else speaks Japanese. Sometimes there's a translator whose job it is to translate, and then you get to hear them in English. But oftentimes, especially the young pilot, he's just straight up speaking Japanese the whole time. And you have to either know Japanese, which I don't, or infer what he means because they don't do subtitles. And I really liked that. I thought it added an emotional depth to it, and also it really, really speaks to the ability of the animation to convey the feeling without you understanding the language. And I think this is something that people often forget, and it often makes me think of my actor's voice class where we had a gibberish section. But you can convey a lot simply through facial expression, through hand gestures, and emotional connection, even if you don't share the same language. And I liked that they were able to not only show that in the film between the boy and the dogs, who couldn't understand each other's language, but who could clearly communicate, and also the boy and the audience. Well, at least me, who doesn't speak Japanese. I suppose if you speak Japanese, it would be a different thing. But they were able to convey everything to an English-speaking audience. And the animation style was fantastic. I enjoyed every little bit of it, and it was just really cute at the end. Like, it was just really cute and really sweet, and the boy is the champion, and he conquers and brings dogs back, and it was beautiful to watch that unfold. And it was just a fun visual overall, like the expanse of Trash Island, the different characters, the way that it all comes together. And one of my favorite bits is one of those dogs always goes, yeah, haven't you heard about insert rumor here? And he does that constantly. Yeah, didn't you hear about Nutmeg? Didn't you hear about the cannibal dogs? Didn't you hear about Kobayashi Medical? Didn't you hear about this? Didn't you hear about that? And at one point they go, how do you hear all these things? He goes, I don't know, I just have my ear to the ground. And you think the same thing, because you're like, you literally spend all of your time hanging out with these other dogs who don't know these things. Where are you hearing all of these rumors? And it's just funny little turns like that that clearly illustrate to me the shared sense of humor that I have with Wes Anderson, which I knew. I've always enjoyed Wes Anderson films, and just his unique style of not only directing, but then also like selection of script. And I realize he doesn't necessarily write everything, but the creation of the story fits in with his vision. So I would highly recommend this film if you like animated features, and if it won't drive you crazy to not understand absolutely every word, and also if you have a slightly dark sense of humor. You will definitely enjoy this film, and it's still in theaters right now. I don't know how long that'll last. I'll see you tomorrow.